Breaking news. The U.S. has just imposed a new 10% tariff on energy imports from Canada, a move that could send shockwaves through the trade and energy sectors. This decision targets key energy resources, including crude oil, natural gas, uranium, and biofuels. These are essential to both countries' economies and play a crucial role in North American energy stability. As these tariffs take effect, many are asking how this will impact energy prices, businesses, and consumers. Will gas prices rise? Will Canada retaliate? Could this escalate into a full-blown trade war? In this video, we break down exactly what is happening, why these tariffs were imposed, and what this means for the future of U.S.-Canada trade. Stay tuned. What just happened? On March 19, 2025, the U.S. government officially announced new tariffs on energy imports from Canada, setting off a major shift in North American trade relations. This decision follows two key executive orders issued on March 2 and March 6, 2025. These orders were designed to adjust tariff policies as part of a broader effort to address security concerns at the U.S.-Canada border. Under this new policy, a 10% tariff is now imposed on Canadian energy products that do not qualify under the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA. So what does that mean? If an energy product meets USMCA trade requirements, it can enter the U.S. without additional duties. If it does not meet USMCA qualifications, the 10% tariff is applied immediately. This means that not all Canadian energy exports are affected, but many key resources will now face higher costs when entering the U.S. market. The big question now is, what specific energy products are included in these tariffs? Let's break it down. Which energy products are affected? The new U.S. tariff applies to a broad range of Canadian energy resources, significantly impacting cross-border trade. These essential commodities are now subject to a 10% additional duty under HTS Code 9903-0113. Here is a breakdown of the affected products. Crude oil and lease condensates. Canada is the largest supplier of crude oil to the U.S., accounting for nearly half of U.S. crude imports. With these new tariffs, refineries may face higher costs, potentially affecting gasoline prices. Natural gas and natural gas liquids. The U.S. imports billions of cubic feet of Canadian natural gas annually. This tariff could disrupt pipeline shipments, increase home heating costs, and impact industrial energy use. Refined petroleum products. This includes gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel. A price increase could lead to higher transportation costs, affecting both consumers and logistics companies. Biofuels and geothermal energy. The tariff covers ethanol, biodiesel, and other renewable fuels used to meet U.S. clean energy goals. The impact could be felt in sectors pushing for green alternatives. Critical minerals used in clean energy. These are essential for solar panels, wind turbines, and electric vehicle batteries. The tariff could slow down U.S. renewable energy expansion, making it more expensive to transition away from fossil fuels. Uranium and coal. Canada is one of the world's top uranium producers, supplying fuel for U.S. nuclear power plants. A tariff on uranium could drive up energy costs, while coal imports from Canada, although smaller, could see price hikes for industrial users. These tariffs affect key sectors across energy, transportation, and manufacturing, leading to higher costs that could trickle down to businesses and consumers. The real question now is who will feel the impact the most. Let's dive into that next. Who will feel the impact? These new tariffs will have far-reaching effects across multiple industries, affecting both businesses and consumers on both sides of the border. U.S. energy importers and refiners. U.S. companies that rely on Canadian energy imports will see higher costs almost immediately. Refineries processing Canadian crude may pay more per barrel, leading to increased production costs. For natural gas companies, pipeline deliveries could become more expensive, making it harder to keep costs low for industries and households. Consumers. These tariffs could hit American consumers directly through higher gas and electricity prices. If refineries and energy suppliers pass rising costs down the supply chain, fuel prices at the pump could go up. Higher energy prices also mean increased costs for goods and services, as manufacturers and transportation companies adjust to new expenses. The question is, how much of this cost will actually be passed on to consumers? Canada's energy industry. Canadian energy exporters stand to lose the most, as their products become less competitive in the U.S. market. With a 10% tariff, some U.S. buyers may look for alternative suppliers, either from domestic sources or other international markets. This could lead to lower sales, reduced exports, and potential job losses in Canada's energy sector. The big question remains, How much of this cost will trickle down to everyday Americans? If fuel and electricity costs rise, will consumers start feeling the strain? And if Canada retaliates with counter-tariffs, could this turn into an even bigger trade dispute? Let's take a closer look at why the U.S. is taking this action in the first place. Why is this happening? The U.S. government has framed these new energy tariffs as part of a broader border security crackdown, linking them to illicit drug flows across the northern border. The decision has sparked major debate, with critics questioning whether tariffs on Canadian energy are truly about security, or if they are being used as an economic pressure tool. Executive Order 104-193. This key directive, issued in early March, claims that imposing tariffs on Canadian energy imports will help control illegal activity at the U.S.-Canada border. The administration argues that by targeting key economic sectors, it can push Canada to take stronger action against illicit drug smuggling. However, no direct link between energy trade and drug trafficking has been presented. Canada's reaction: Canadian officials strongly oppose the move, calling the tariffs unjustified and harmful to both economies. The government argues that Canada is already a close partner in border security efforts, and that these tariffs unfairly punish legitimate industries instead of addressing the actual issue. Some Canadian lawmakers have even called this a blatant trade weapon rather than a border enforcement strategy. The big concern now is whether this could escalate into a larger trade dispute between the two countries. Canada could choose to retaliate with its own tariffs on U.S. exports, potentially hitting American industries in response. So what happens next? Let's take a look at the possible fallout from this major policy shift. What happens next? This major policy shift could have serious consequences beyond just U.S.-Canada trade. Several key developments could unfold in the coming weeks and months. Will Canada retaliate? The biggest question right now is whether Canada will hit back with counter-tariffs on U.S. exports. In past trade disputes, Canada has targeted key American industries such as agriculture, steel, and manufactured goods in response to U.S. tariffs. If Canada imposes retaliatory duties, it could trigger a trade standoff, putting even more pressure on businesses on both sides of the border. Legal challenges incoming. Trade groups and industry leaders may challenge these tariffs through the U.S. legal system or under international trade agreements. If companies believe these tariffs violate trade rules, they could file complaints with U.S. courts, the USMCA dispute panel, or even the World Trade Organization. However, legal battles take time, meaning businesses may have to deal with the tariff costs for months or even years before a resolution is reached. Impact on energy prices. The U.S. energy market is deeply connected to Canadian imports. If tariffs cause disruptions in supply, it could lead to higher prices for gasoline, electricity, and industrial energy use. Some U.S. companies may start sourcing energy from other countries, while others may pass increased costs onto consumers. The real question is how much these tariffs will actually affect everyday energy prices and whether market forces will absorb some of the impact. A global issue. This is more than just a U.S.-Canada trade dispute. Energy markets are global, and any disruption affects international supply chains. If Canadian energy becomes more expensive for U.S. buyers, it could open opportunities for other energy exporting countries. At the same time, investors and global markets will be watching closely to see if this tariff policy signals a shift in U.S. trade strategy. The consequences of this decision will not be immediate, but they could reshape energy trade in North America for years to come. So what does all of this mean for you? Let's wrap things up. Final thoughts. What do you think? This new 10% tariff on Canadian energy raises major questions about trade, security, and economic impact. The U.S. government says it is a necessary step to address illicit drug flows, but many experts see it as a trade weapon that could hurt businesses and consumers on both sides of the border. So what do you think? Are these tariffs justified as a security measure, or are they another chapter in a growing trade dispute between the U.S. and Canada? Could this lead to higher energy prices, and will Canada retaliate with its own tariffs? We want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let's discuss. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more updates on global trade policies, tariffs, and supply chain developments. Check the description for source links and further reading to stay informed on this evolving situation. More updates coming soon. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.